What is she doing in this movie? Like, is she broke? Like, what happened? Does someone have something on her? Does she need help?
No, look.
How did she get coerced into being in this movie?
Judi Dench can do whatever the she wants, and nobody's going to say about it. So when they call her and go, do you want to be a fairy commander in Artemis Fowl? And she goes, that sounds like a good time. People are going to go, she's Judi Dench. Welcome back to the What's Our Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts, Mattson Heiner.
Better red than dead.
Javier Ortiz.
What is up, my nerds?
And Ian Anderson.
Some shit.
Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Go check out our website at whatsourverdict.com, where you can vote for what movie we're going to review next. Sign up for our exclusive content. Today, we are reviewing the new Disney Plus release, Artemis Fowl. It was released on May 29th of this year. It was directed by Kenneth Branagh. The screenplay was written by Connor McPherson, and it's based on the book series by Ian Colfer. It starred Ferdia Shaw, Lauren McDonald, Josh Gad, Colin Farrell, and Judi Dench. So let's just jump right in with a spoiler-free review. Javier, why don't you get us started?
Okay, spoiler-free review. It had a surprisingly good cast with like Josh Gad and Judi Dench and that one dude from Game of Thrones. With a surprisingly good cast, it was surprisingly bad. I didn't think fantasy movies could be worse than Harry Potter movies, but I'm wrong, and I'm big enough to admit that.
Man, I am waiting for a fandom besides Jurassic Park that Javier does not offend.
that was a foul backhanded slap.
He's offended Star Wars. He's offended now Harry Potter. Trying to think of the other Marvel. He's got Marvel in his back pocket. I'm just,
And he likes White House Down. He's got that going for him.
Oh,
he hates Westworld. He's got, it's just brutalizing all of the major fandomoniums.
I just have really high standards for my movies, and
but you can't say that because you rated it.
Didn't match up.
Say that. You cannot say that.
Hey, look, you guys can come at me all you want. I'm just saying that it just didn't make the cut.
White House Down is at the upper echelon of your movies. You can't say that you have high standards. It's in the
upper echelon of movies. Period. Not my movies. Just movies.
No. Mathematically, you're wrong.
Oh my god!
So we know Javier doesn't like it. Ian, tell us what you thought.
I thought that it's a really great movie if you want to hear some Irish accents. If you go into it with that mindset, you won't be disappointed. If you go into it with the mindset of wanting to watch a movie that makes some sense and is enjoyable, it's not going to be as... it's going to be a bit of a letdown because I didn't realize it was the same. It didn't fit the, anyways, that's spoiler territory. I won't go there.
Good call. All right. Mattson.
Yeah. So read these books. Don't remember a lot about them, but like it was said before, great cast. But really, man, if you want to see kids act like kids, adults act like kids, gruff voices, high-pitched voices, weird ears. If you want to see some good CGI, but also just really be confused the whole time and wondering, is there more to a movie? Watch this movie.
But if that's your thing, just watch White House Down.
Oh, God.
Hey, Javier, I would much rather watch White House Down than watch this movie again.
Yeah, of course.
1,000,000 times over.
It's a no-brainer.
And I will go out on a limb. Okay, it's not even a limb. I will go out and just say that I would not watch White House Down before I watch this movie again.
Wow. I'm about to lose all respect for you as you defend this movie because...
hold on. I didn't say I was going to defend it. I'm just saying White House Down is hot garbage. So to say that I would watch that movie over almost anything is wrong. The movie's trash.
You have to draw a line somewhere, JJ, and this has to be the line, or you cannot be a movie critic anymore.
I'm just a movie critic. That's the beauty of what we do. I'm not a movie critic.
Strip you of that. I can't even right now.
What movie did Javier say he'd rather watch or rather drink bleach than watch it? I don't remember which one that was.
I think it's the majority of the movies we've watched, so that's the problem.
No, I think it was Parasite. Was it Parasite?
It could have been Parasite.
Or was it
Anyway,
Scoop?
sorry. Continue, JJ. I
What?
interrupted.
No, you're good. I get it. But you can't strip me of being a critic. Period. Your top level movie is Jurassic Park.
That's everyone's top level movie. Oh, it should be, dude. It was the top grossing movie until Titanic came along. So mathematically speaking, JJ, you're wrong.
Here's a question for Javier. Do you hate or hate Lord of the Rings, the franchise there?
I love Lord of the Rings. That's one I can get behind. Lord of the Rings.
There we go. That's the
Thank
only
God.
one I know of that Javier is now behind.
We have one fandom. The problem is most of that fandom is a member of another fandom. That's a whole nother. We could start a whole podcast just talking about this shit. I should probably talk about the fact that I didn't sit here and say that this was a fantastically wonderful movie that needs to get awards and shit, but it was entertaining. I had fun watching this movie.
JJ, I had to ask, while you were watching this, were you hungry?
No, actually, I wasn't hungry at all.
How high were you?
I wasn't high at all.
Even remotely enjoyable.
Surprisingly enough, I wasn't high for this movie.
All right. Well, now that we've got through our spoiler free, we might as well jump into you. Tell us what was entertaining about this movie. I'm listening. I have my elf ears on.
Look, man, I laughed during this movie quite a bit. Like there were one-liners throughout this movie. Like,
did you laugh at the David Bowie thing? Please tell me.
No, I didn't laugh at the David Bowie thing. No, I have a deep affection for David Bowie. So I was like, look, I love Judi Dench, but she's not David Bowie. There's a very distinct line there. So, and I enjoyed Judi Dench's character. It was hilarious for me to watch this old lady who I've always watched be very soft-spoken, very firm, but soft-spoken, have this gruff, gravelly voice. I enjoyed that. So for me, it was entertaining. Like, okay, so let me grab one of these one. First of all, I did hate Josh Gad's gravelly voice. I love Josh Gad, but he needed to let go of that gravelly voice. It was really odd, and I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, if his character had Olaf's voice, that would come up an entire grade point for me.
Sure, I think it would have been more funny if he had. But the problem is they were going off the books, because I went back and read some synopsis on the characters through the book to see, how they played him, things like that. And so that character had a deep, gravelly voice. All of the dwarves in the book series,
That makes sense because he eats dirt.
Exactly. Yeah. They eat all sorts of shit. But
apparently it comes out the other end. Got a nice visual of that if you want to see that.
Explosively.
Could have done without that, but I guess it's they're technically giant people-sized worms. So when she seriously, and there was a lot of cheesy lines, like when she was telling the guy, get the 4-leaf clover out of here, I giggled because all I could think of was, what a clever way to say fuck off. I liked that. I liked the line where he says, most humans are afraid of gluten. What do you think they do with goblins? These I thought they were stupidly funny. It was a bunch of dad jokes. It was designed for kids to have a good time. And I enjoyed the shit out of this movie. Like, I really had fun watching this movie. Is it a great movie? No, there's some terrible writing in it. There's some really awkward visuals. The CGI is either really beautiful or it's terrible. There was no in between with it. And so there was a lot of flaws in this movie, but for what it was, a kid's movie based off a bunch of kids' books, I thought the shit was entertaining. I liked the smugness of the kid. I liked it. I think they could have done more for.
Dude, he was a pompous ass.
I know, but apparently in reading the synopsis of the character in the books, he's an ass. He's a next level genius intellect at 12. And hey, I don't care who you are. That smart of an individual always have a little bit of a dick in him.
So I've heard that the problem with Artemis Fowl Jr. in this movie versus the books, which, disclaimer, I haven't read the books because I'm not 8 years old. But I've heard that in the books, he is a legit criminal mastermind. Like, he is a genius. Mm-hmm. But in the movie, he's just kind of a dick who's good at school. And I think that was a disappointing rendition of him, which I can understand.
Sure, I get that. Like, if I read the book, and this is one of the reasons I'm glad I didn't read this book. I'm sure if I read these books when they came out, I wouldn't enjoy this movie as much. And I think that's true of most books. We've had this conversation on the podcast before. There's been movies where we watched that I read the books, and I'm like, this fucking sucks. Because books are usually better than a movie. It's because they can do more.
Except Lord of the Rings.
I still like the books better.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I haven't read the books though because it's like reading the Bible, and I haven't read that either.
Oh, The Hobbit is better than the movies, the book, but I would rather different movie. But
see,
that's the only
see,
one
and I
can think of.
flip flop those because The Hobbit was written as a children's book, and it
Mhm.
reads as a children's book. It's very simple. It skips over a lot of depth of plot. They just mention shit that you have to go into the glossary in the back of the Lord of the Rings to read
Ugh.
about all the shit.
Hobbit movies were terrible.
I didn't hate them. I hated the additional shit, but I don't think it should have been part of the Hobbit. That's a fuck. Why are we
Anyways,
talking about the goddamn Lord
yeah,
of the Rings and
I
the
wanted
Hobbit
to-
again?
I wanted to
about
ask:
Lord of the Rings.
Did Judi Dench's character Commander Root get
Root.
throat punched by James Bond before this movie? That's what I want to know because her voice. I don't know how you enjoyed that. I just
Dude,
it killed me.
What is she doing in this movie? Like, is she broke? Like, what happened? Does
No.
someone
Yeah.
have something on her? Does she need help?
No, look.
How did she get coerced into being in this movie?
Judi Dench can do whatever the fuck she wants, and nobody's gonna say shit about it. So when they call her and go, "Do you want to be a ferry commander in Artemis Fowl?" And she goes, "That sounds like a good fucking time." People are gonna go, "She's Judi Dench," because that's what I do.
Can she have a little more class? Have some standards?
Yeah, no
Goodness.
kidding.
Man, she brought this movie up, dude. I enjoyed her
Dude, she took
performance.
this movie down. She was
No way.
absolutely terrible. She
No
had
way.
no emotion. I know she's supposed to be hard to the bone. That's what her character is supposed to be. But goodness, it just annoyed me.
Yeah, but she
immensely.
showed emotion. Like, I don't understand the whole no emotion thing. She showed a lot of emotion. She went out of her limb. She broke rules. She went against the directorate
Just
to
didn't work
try to
for me.
save the little fairy girl, Holly. And like, she shows that emotion. Yeah, she's a hardened character. She's 800 years old. But I thought she showed a lot of emotion. And I thought Judi Dench played that emotion pretty well. In fact, I think she showed, as far as acting chops go, played the most emotion with the exception of the butler, because I love that actor. He was in a TV show called Dracula that was only on for one season. The show was terrible, but he was amazing in it. So I enjoy that actor.
That
so.
guy had cool eyes. But he also shot a fairy that's like super fast with that tranquilizer gun and pretty good shot.
Yeah. I mean, he missed the first time, so he was ready the second.
Just trying to come up with things I want to say about this movie.
I have a problem with this movie in that it all felt so rushed. I don't know
Super
what it
rushed.
was about the movie, but it constantly felt like everything was being rushed through, whether it was the scene changes, whether it was the actors, and like even just the dialogue felt like it was being rushed and cut short and like moved along faster and faster to the point where it was like uncomfortable to watch the movie.
But even like the character development, like he kidnaps this fairy, and then the next scene he's like, "Can I trust you?" And he like whips off his sunglasses. Like,
Yeah, they're like
no,
best
Yeah.
friends.
you kidnapped her. You can't trust her. I thought you were supposed to be a genius. What is wrong with you?
Well, the same thing like with the dwarf. Like he tunnels in, finds the treasure, and just hands it over. And it's like, wait, why is he joining Artemis Fowl? Like what?
Yeah, what's his
It
motivation?
just happens. I mean, I could be an evil genius if all my plans went like that smooth too.
Yeah, but that's like the
People
chicken and the egg. You got to be that much of a genius to get your plans to be that smooth.
Yeah, but if people just do what you want, like without any real reason behind it, like, yeah, sure, I'll be a genius.
I mean, technically, he had a reason, though, because he had like an 800-year sentence that they were going to knock like 65 years off. And I realize they lived for a long damn time. But if you think about that for a minute, he knows that if he's with Artemis Fowl, he's got a better chance than being in jail. So that was his motivation.
But what about Holly's? Like Holly's just like, yeah, sure, I'll trust you.
Well, enemy of my enemy is what I look at that for. No, I don't disagree with you. I agree that there was rushed. In fact, I was going to say, but I was waiting to get crucified for it. They could have added 30 minutes to this movie to me and brought in some additional character development behind the storyline and where they're going, and I think it would have been a better movie. Because I do agree.
Could you guys imagine if this movie was 30 minutes longer? I don't know if I could have survived for 30 minutes longer.
I'd just give it up.
If it helps JJ, I had the same thought, but I don't think the extra time would have saved it.
See, and I think what you guys are talking about is all character development, right? At least when it comes to the rushing of the movie. Now, I get you guys have personal opinions on Judi Dench and all that, and you didn't like what she was doing. But when it comes to the character development and why characters made decisions that are complex decisions that we just go, what the fuck? Extra time with that development helps that, right? No matter what
Yeah.
you do, if it's done well, then it helps that and it erases some of those questions and concerns. But
Sure.
That logic could work. Like, I don't think. Sure.
I mean, it could work if this was a borderline good movie, but it wasn't.
I also didn't care for the like constant narration throughout the movie.
I didn't like that either.
Yeah,
Because he explained stuff that we were watching.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at it right now. I don't need you to narrate it.
Yeah, I didn't love the narration, and I think for me the reason I didn't like the narration is because I was like, God, Josh Gad should just talk like Josh Gad and not do this gravelly voice, and then I think I wouldn't mind it as much. But I don't like most movies. I shouldn't say most movies. I don't like that much when you have to explain that much shit in your movie. I don't like that. And again, that could have been taken away had they added a little extra time in the beginning and then in the middle to some of these character developments, the relationship between his dad, and kind of show the whole Holly's dad meeting with Artemis Sr, giving him the whatever, so that I think that could have added some value.
Aculous.
Yeah, Aculous.
JJ. Do you want to be impressed with me for a second?
Sure. That's a dangerous question.
Do you know where I recognize? I think it's Colin Farrell, right? Is the dad?
Yeah.
Do you know where I recognize him from? What movie I recognize him from?
What's that?
In Bruges.
Really?
Yeah. Because I don't really know any of his other movies, but that one. And that's a wonderful movie.
It is a wonderful movie. Wow, I almost feel like we need to do this movie so that you and I can agree on something.
Oh yeah, I would still be down to watch In Bruges.
Because In Bruges is an amazing movie.
Are you impressed with me?
I am impressed and kind of shocked. I am almost speechless.
Yes!
Yeah, that's impressive.
Javier, high class over here.
I know. It actually is kind of a high class movie. It is a
very
interesting
good
movie.
Very, very good movie.
I remember Colin Farrell from Fantastic Beasts 2. Not a very good movie.
Yeah, I never saw any of those. I've never seen a single Harry Potter anything.
Oh, dude, save yourself, man. I've
never read it, never seen it, never will.
So the books are bad, and you know how movies are always worse than the books.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need to know about.
Have you read all the books, Javier?
I've read books 1 through 4, and people have the audacity to tell me that I need to finish this series because it gets good. I'm like, if it doesn't get good by book 4,
no shit,
it's not worth reading, guys.
Nah. No, there's
I think you're missing out, but I'm not a huge Harry Potter defender. I like them.
27, relatively successful. I've done fine without Harry Potter so far.
Yeah, same here. I don't get it. Never have, never will. Like I said, I've never read a single page, and I won't. So can we talk about the visuals of this movie? Because like I said, there were two things. There was one, and I don't even remember what it was. I think it was like one of the ships taking off when you first see the fairy world. And I was like, oh God, that CGI is terrible. I really hope that's not what we're in for the whole movie. And then they did this time stop shit in Italy. Yeah. And I was like, that's fucking cool. It looked so cool, that dome, and then everything's frozen. And I thought that. And then the big one around the house was even cooler. Like, I was like, this is sick with the boat and stopping midair.
So explain this to me, though. When they time stopped Artemis's house, why didn't they freeze him?
Because she wanted to interrogate him. She needed to talk to him, and they had the other fairy in the middle.
Why not just freeze all of them, grab him, unfreeze him, and then talk to him?
It's because he had sunglasses on.
Yeah. I had a really big problem with that. I was like, they're so technologically advanced and this isn't solvable. I know they need to make him look as like a mastermind, but the way they portrayed that, it just, because what they did in Italy and froze everyone and did all that, I was like, well, why wouldn't they be doing something just the same to Artemis? So to me, my comparison point within the movie didn't make sense.
There are rules, and this is another thing I wish they dived into. There are rules as to entering human homes for the fairies. So
like vampires,
kind of, and it's not necessarily like they can't enter without permission. It's more that if they enter without permission, there's only certain things that they can do. It's part of the treaties that were created. I read this when I did and again, this is something that should have been discussed to make sense. They tried to show it with the couple of like where he invited him in, because if they're invited, like they have to follow the rules of the humans or something like that. I just skimmed it.
Didn't really work.
And so they tried to show that there were rules, and I think they expected you to kind of speculate that, but I agree. They should have talked more about the rules behind the interactions between the two worlds.
Should have had Mulch Diggums. He could have narrated that whole rules scenario.
True.
Like, or they could have spent less time leading up to his like prison rape and more time explaining these treaties. And I think that would have been a more responsible way to handle this movie.
Why do you have to take it to the extreme every time?
Goblins are BA, man. Fireproof, can make fire. Just that, I mean.
Shit was pretty funny, though, when he plugged his goddamn nose.
Ugly.
I was like, get him. That shit was great.
I will say the one part that made me laugh was when Diggums pickpockets the gun.
Oh.
From like, I thought that was pretty clever.
He's looking for it, and then all of a sudden he pulls it out and hands it over. I'm gonna need my gun. What the hell? That was pretty good. I thought his character, other than his voice, was pretty funny. Like I enjoyed.
I think what probably didn't work for me the most is if this is the first one of what is to be a few movies, at least the world building that they showed us in this just to me fell flat on its face, where there was much more they could have developed. The rules, why are the fairies in this circumstance? Why is humanity this way? They tried to gloss over it a little bit, but it didn't work enough to set the stage of why this Aculous is so important, why his father's a part of this. And I thought for those that actually remember the books, they're going to be pissed off because the world building, where I equate this to like Aragon, the books that I loved, and the movie came out and just totally trashed it. I felt the same for the people that probably like these books, where there just wasn't enough there to build what they were trying to build.
I have a question for everybody about the Aculous too, because my understanding of the plot is the Aculous is this, big, powerful, magical thing for the fairies, and to protect them, this Beechwood character gave it to Artemis Fowl Sr., who hid it away, right? And so at the end of this movie, they just give it back to the fairies, but all the bad guys are still out there. It's still
I've got an answer for this one, I think. JJ, let me take this one off your hands. Mm-hmm. So when Artemis Fowl Sr. handed it back over to Officer Short, he handed over a list of connections that Opal, the evil fairy, had. And so they went around and arrested all of, her acquaintances or her, fellow evil fairies. And because they were arrested, there are now no more bad fairies, and we're safe again.
Okay, so it's perfectly
well, I don't
safe.
think they're arrested yet. They're going after them.
Yeah, you're close, but you went all the way to the end of the book series, apparently. No,
okay.
But yes, that is
they're
why.
Not arrested yet. We just know who they are, so therefore they are safe now.
And that's what
really
the commander
glad that
assigned.
He carries that list in his jacket at all times, just in case he needs to give it to Holly Short. When he's going to be kidnapped, and it's this paper list that's apparently very durable. So
it was a pyramid.
That's why he left in the first place, was to go hunt those people down, and then he got captured.
He was going to hunt them and investigate them and get proof, because and again, an extra half an hour with a little more backstory would have done a lot for this movie, because that is what he was going to do. He was traveling, and he's been stealing all these artifacts, and that's, I guess, when you read the books, he steals these magical items that either humans or fairies are trying to use. And he was aware, and Holly's dad, Beechwood, was aware of Opal's plan and all of the people that she was working with. And they were the only ones that were aware, and nobody else would believe Beechwood. That's why they thought that he betrayed them, or at least the one guy. And so once they knew who it was, they knew how to protect it and what to look out for. Up until that point, it was vulnerable because nobody knew that Opal was out there after it.
But now they know.
So yeah. Now they know, so now they can protect it better, which is why they let it back. They know someone's coming for it, so they take extra precautions.
So why didn't they just tell him that Opal was coming for it?
Well, he tried. Beechwood tried.
Oh,
Beechwood,
I'm still confused.
They could have shown that. That probably would have helped reinforce that.
And again, like I said, that was something that they should have added. But that was Beechwood they were coming after him. He got killed by Opal protecting it, but he tried to explain, and everybody thought that he was betraying them, and he took it to get his own power, but it wasn't for that. And I guess there's a whole bunch of that comes out throughout the series as to how that all happened. And so it's one of those things where they've undertaken a huge, I think there's like 12 books in the series. Like, it's a monstrous series of stories. And so it's one of those things where you're an intro movie. They should have done better with, like Mattson says, the world building, and then grown from there. Even if it was less actiony and story and more just, hey, we're gonna do this, let's do it right. I think it could have been better. But like I said, I was entertained, and I told you guys it might have been because I've been in friggin' Last of Us 2 mode for the last 3 days. So something that lighthearted and entertaining was good for me. But I found it funny, like, and entertaining. And I didn't go into it. In fact, I went into it thinking it was going to be one of the worst movies I've ever seen because everybody was talking so bad about it. And then I was sitting there going, this isn't that bad. I mean, it's not great. It's not something I would sit and go, yeah, let's go watch Artemis Fowl because it's amazing. And I got to see what else I missed. But I didn't think it was like the worst thing I've ever seen. That's for sure.
Mattson, I have a question for you. For someone who's read the books, who is Juliet and why was she even in this movie? Because
I have to preface, I don't remember anything about the books. I read them, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Okay, I'll open it up to
18
the
years
group
ago.
because all she did was beat up Dom and then make Artemis a sandwich, which JJ, get ready to edit me out.
Good point.
Is insulting for women and black people, and she was both. So
I don't know what like I said, I didn't even find anything character-wise on it because I wasn't interested. So I have no idea what her character arc is in the books.
Yeah, I don't remember it all, but they completely, if she had a big role, she didn't in this movie.
No.
Yeah, she like hung from a chandelier, and then what happened to her? Where'd she go after that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you see her at the end, like when they're somehow they're going out to the helicopter or something, and she's like, you see her face, but like that's it. That's the last time you see her. And that was the first time you'd seen her in a minute. So obviously
That was
a wasted
the most
character.
The least secure, visually looking secure prison that I've ever seen. They just roll up in a helicopter and they take them away. Mulch Diggums, that is.
Yeah,
Just regular glass ceilings.
come on, they were metal ceilings. I wasn't expecting them. I don't know. Yeah, they just cut open it or lifted it out.
Because they looked cool. I was like, all right, MI6 or whatever it's called, out in the middle of nowhere. But you have a helicopter, take them away. See ya. No big deal.
Point.
I was like, that was so easy. But the funniest part for me, and someone will have to give me the actual joke. I remember there was some scene with the centaur, the scientist, and someone said the extent of like, I wonder what his parents looked like or something. I don't remember the exact phrase of that, but that one made me laugh because it's a weird image.
Yeah, it was Josh Gad's character, and he was looking at him, and he's talking to him over the radio when he had the eyes thing in, and he's like, so what were your parents like? Or something like that. Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, there were either some really good one-liners or some of them missed really bad. Like there were some that I was like, oh God, what?
If you're a kid, are you going to be entertained by this? Probably. And I'm not sure what that says about kids today. Maybe we all need to pray for them. But if you're babysitting kids that are watching this movie and you're expected to be in the same room as them, probably want to open Instagram, Facebook, maybe even resort to reading or something. That's better than this movie.
Or you can just go check out our webpage and vote for the next movie.
Hey,
give us sign up for our email
listen to a
list.
podcast about a movie you actually like.
That works too.
So
Shameless
don't
plug,
listen
people.
to this podcast. Is that what you're telling our listeners?
Just make sure you've listened to this podcast before you babysit. That's the difference. I did laugh too, and this one was really stupid. But did you guys notice the code for the helicopter at the end?
No.
It was EL-FMN1. Elfman 1.
Elfman.
Oh, sorry.
Jeez,
See, it's those little things that like make me fucking giggle. Like I was like, that's
makes
funny
it so
shit.
much worse.
Elfman 1. I liked it. All right. I can see by the looks on your faces staring at me with bewilderment and utter disdain that we are ready to rate this movie.
JJ, you need to kick us off.
Kick you off.
One or the other. Kick us off or anchor it.
Oh, I could start. I'm not afraid to start. I'll go back to it. Look, this is far from a perfect movie. It's a children's movie. It's meant for little kids' attention span, which is why they're okay cutting and rushing through everything. I don't think this was ever intended for a purely adult audience. Maybe a young teenager, early, tweens, whatever the hell you want to call them, movie. But at that point, dude, we've already talked about that from the last time when we did Scoob. Like 13-second clips or whatever the hell it is. They don't have attention span for shit, so they have to move forward. But as far as make me laugh, funny. It's 90 minutes, and it's barely 90 minutes. I mean, it cuts off right at 90 minutes. So once you get the actual movie itself, once you get past the opening sequence, I think is like 78 minutes or some shit. So it's not long. It's not hard to watch if you're not looking at it from looking for a great movie. It's quick, it's fast, it's got some entertaining parts, it's got some really bad parts, but overall, it's not the worst movie to ever see. Would I watch it again? Not purposefully. I mean, again, if my niece was over, my nephew was over, they wanted to watch it, I'd probably turn it on and let them watch it and hang out with them and laugh at the funny parts that I found. As far as a rating goes, I'll give it a 2. I didn't mind it, but it wasn't a fantastic movie, but it was entertaining for what it was. Well, Mattson, why don't you go next?
Shoot, if a 2 is you didn't mind this movie, I'm trying. Oh man, it's gonna go back to what I said earlier. Look, I have nieces and nephews, and as Jay just said, if they came over and wanted to watch this movie, I'm not gonna be as nice. I'm gonna say, let's watch something else. I mean, there's a lot of movies out there that are better than this movie, and I'm gonna find one. I'd probably watch. I don't even know if I'd watch Scoob over. I'd watch Scoob probably over this. Oof, I don't know. Man, this movie was bad. I was sitting on my couch and I resorted to looking out my window to see how many people had parked in the parking lot, just because I needed something to get me going. That's desperate, and I wouldn't have watched this movie for the sake of the podcast. My father-in-law, Gary, who will be listening to this episode, this one was for you. Gary, we need a better request next time, because this movie sucked. It sucked hard, and I will never watch this movie again. I will never go back to the books. And Kenneth Branagh, I like you as an actor. Apparently, you've directed some really good stuff before, but man, this was a dud, and you need to make up for it. So I'm giving this movie a 0.5. And I'm not watching it again. This movie sucked.
Wait, we can go below a 1?
Yeah, you can go all the way to a 0, dude.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Change the whole rating system.
Only you can go 0.5, 1. You can't go like 0.25. We go half points.
Believe me, I almost gave White House down a 0, so we can go to 0.
Wow.
And I don't say that to be shitty. I say that in all seriousness.
You keep trying to hurt my feelings, JJ, but I am a lock. I mean a vault. What? What am I saying?
I don't know. But why don't you tell us your rating on this movie, Javier?
My rating on this movie. Okay. I am going to give this it's really hard to follow up such a scathing review from Mattson. So I'm going to give this also a 0.5, because that's news to me that I could do that. I feel like we need to go back and rate some other movies. I'm going to give this 0.5 because it was not good. The dialogue was really bad, and the actors apparently don't respect themselves or their craft, because there's no way that they would be found dead in this movie if they did. I also didn't read the book, so there's no like nostalgia factor there for me. It all was pretty terrible. Oh, Ian, ask me the question. Ask me the thing.
I've been waiting to ask you. This is the moment. What would you rather do, Javier, than watch this movie again?
I was thinking about this as I was watching it, Ian. I was thinking about you. And I would rather be hung upside down by my big toes and cut from my butt to my nose in half with a saw.
That's fucking
really
extreme.
Is that better or worse than drinking bleach?
Worse, way worse. I would imagine. I don't know. I've never done
That
either
sounds
one.
way worse. I don't know. It sounds like something that you find in Saw.
All I know
Wow.
is at some point that saw's got to go through your junk, so that makes it pretty damn bad to me.
Like
Yeah,
very
right.
quickly.
All right.
Hey,
Yeah.
you better hope you have
Upside down.
junk like James Bond. Junk of steel.
Yeah.
A little to the left.
Yeah, you're gonna be the guy. You died scratching my balls. All right, Ian, bring us home.
Well, I think anything I don't think I could say anything worse about this movie than has already been said. So I'm going to keep mine kind of short and just say a 0.5 as well. And then I won't watch this movie. It felt super rushed. It was awful. And if you want more details, see Javier Mattson's reviews before this.
Man,
I love
this
it.
is by far our lowest rated movie
Yeah.
of all time.
That's because Javier didn't know we could go lower than 1.
Oh, I would have tanked the shit out of some movies, dude. I thought it was a scale of 1 to 5, not 0 to 5. This
Javier,
whole
I'm
time.
looking at.
I don't
I'm
think you've
looking
ever even
at-
given a 1, have you?
I know, but I thought that was the lowest we could go. So I gave it a little bit of a buffer, thinking that like to account for the fact that the bottom of the scale is 1. But if the bottom of the scale was 0, I would have given a lot of things a 1.5, up to and including the town.
There it is.
Oh my gosh, I think that's the only thing you would have done it to, because I'm looking back at the rest of your ratings, and I don't think, everything else you.
I would have given
I
Scoob a
just don't see it.
1.5. Wait, what did I give Scoob?
Wait, what did you
I
give?
was gonna say, I'm
Scoob?
pretty sure you gave Scoop a 1.5.
Yeah,
I would've
Scoob,
given
you did. You gave it a 1.5.
Yeah, I would have given a 0.5. Man, everything's all skewed now.
Nah.
You
Probably
guys did this on purpose.
Just follow your heart, Javier. Now your heart can tell you to rate below a 1.
can't go
Yeah.
wrong if you follow your
My heart did tell me, and I ignored it so many times. Never again.
I think I would
Oh,
watch
God.
Scoob over this, though.
I would watch
The
Scoop over
worst
this.
movie we've rated. Jeez, this one does it. Rounding up gets it to a 0.9.
That's funny.
This movie does not deserve to be rounded up, even mathematically speaking.
Whatever. It was brainless fun.
It really was brainless.
I'm gonna agree with that.
And on that note, Ian, why don't you tell them where they can find us?
Well, you can find us on wherever great, wonderful podcasts can be found: Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. Go ahead and follow on Spotify. Give us a 5-star review, or maybe not a 5-star review if you're, because apparently you can go below 1.
You can go down to 0.5 if you
go to 0.5. Even 0, it sounds like. We'd appreciate it if you didn't do that, though.
Yeah.
You can also find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all at What's Our Verdict. And if you have requests, want to talk to us, have some feedback about the podcast, go ahead and email us at hosts@whatsourverdict.com. And finally, we've got a rockin' website that's up. So if you want to go to www.whatsourverdict.com, you can check that out, vote on movies, see some of the previous podcasts, all kinds of good stuff.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate that.
You bet.
Don't forget to check out our sister podcast, What's Our Verdict TV, where we review TV shows like Witcher, Westworld, and what was the other one we did, fellas?
Oh,
Tiger King.
We've done
Tiger
things like Tiger
King,
King
yeah.
and Waco.
Waco, that's it. Waco.
Oh, yes,
I
Waco.
try to erase Waco from my memory, so
Yeah, maybe we should just take that one down.
nah, it's all right. The first episode's really good. Yeah, so check us out. We appreciate you listening, and that's our verdict, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye now.
Cinemagic out.